Hello, everyone. Well, we are talking about balancing. Guess what? Hormone balancing, especially in women, progesterone and estrogen. Well, how do we maintain the balance? That is the topic. We are talking with Brittany today. Brittany is a functional nutritionist and somatic therapist. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Amita, for having me here today. It's so great to talk about one of my favorite topics, of course, this very delicate balance and this ratio dance that we tend to be doing all of the time.
All right. How do we start? How do we start the balance? Let's just say, start with that.
Okay, so I want to first and foremost say no hormones are bad or good. And I feel like over time, hormones like estrogen have gotten this very bad reputation, right? Because we hear the term estrogen dominance a lot in the wellness hormone world. And we think about bad periods and cramps and clotting and acne breakouts and all this kind of stuff. And yes, that's true if there's an imbalance in estrogen, but I do want to just kind of paint the hormone estrogen for a second with a little bit of a good guy brush because we do need it for so many amazing things in the body. Here is the key is that our estrogen and progesterone have to be within ratio in the body. And so we start to develop issues and symptoms and problems when that ratio, when that scale gets tipped. And often we're seeing estrogen be higher, right? So we hear estrogen dominance than the progesterone. And this is where, Amita, we start to see all of the symptoms that women are complaining about today, like the bloating and the acne and the bad periods and PCOS and all of those kinds of things. And so I want to walk you through what I would actually walk through a client, right? So I want to give you real information that the listeners and people viewing today, you can take this and start to kind of implement this into your daily do's to help this ratio of balancing the estrogen to progesterone. So the number one foundational thing I do is I look at nourishing the metabolism. So think of your metabolism, because any hormonal issue, it's like a waterfall effect. So I'm like, any hormonal issue has come after many other issues, right? And so think of your metabolism as being the foundation of balancing all of these sex hormones. We want an optimal metabolism, how we're actually taking food and how we're converting that food to energy. So how much energy does our body produce? Well, if we have a slow metabolism, meaning we have very low energy, then we have slowed every other process in the body. And this is including ovulation, right, which is key in progesterone and estrogen balance, detoxification, which is another key in cleaning out that excess estrogen. So the number one step I take in balancing these two hormones is nourishing for female physiology, nourishing the metabolism. And what I see, and I don't know if you see this, Amita, a lot in the wellness world, we're often focused on taking so much out of people's diets or fasting or, causing women a lot of the times to be under eating or under nourishing. And so the approach I take is very different. So the first thing I'd say is, what are you eating? Are you eating whole foods? How frequently are you eating? So, not going longer than 3 to 4 hours, really nourishing that metabolism for proper energy, for proper processes, ovulation and all of that kind of stuff. My number two would be asking the question, are you ovulating? Are you ovulating? So many women don't even know this, but it's after that ovulation happens and the egg leaves the sac, that little sac turns into, it's called the corpus luteum. It actually is what produces our progesterone. So after ovulation, right? And this process is so delicate. There's about a 24-hour window that we need this sac to turn into almost a gland. This is how brilliant the female body is. So friggin' brilliant. Turns into this little gland and takes over producing progesterone for us. And this is to balance out that estrogen. And so many women are not having this, they're not having proper ovulation. So maybe they're producing a little bit of progesterone, but again, if they're suffering from a low energy diet, if they haven't nourished that corpus luteum, which needs vitamins A, D, E, K, all your micronutrients, all your minerals, then chances are you're not actually producing enough progesterone month after month after month. And so that will start to catch up with you because estrogen continues to come in so many ways. And if you're not producing your monthly dose of progesterone, you're definitely going to have an imbalance there. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of information that you gave. So I think fundamental is the nutrition, right? So most of the women, if they're nutrition deficient, that's what I understood, and I'm not a science or a nutrition student here. That's what is really like, right?
Yeah, it's giving your body always wants to find its own balance, but we have to give it the right recipe or give it the right ingredients so that it can do its job properly. Like even detoxing, we talk so much about like, I want to detox and I want to get my body to detox. Well, your body's always detoxing. That's a built-in mechanism, but it's how are we nourishing that detoxification system? And that's also key in getting rid of excess estrogen in the body is we need to make sure our liver is functioning properly. And that goes back to what you just said is we have to be eating nutrient dense foods, saturated fats, nice, clean carbs, all that kind of stuff. Animal protein is actually a really great way to get the vitamin A and all of those fat soluble vitamins that I talked about. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize someone was coming into the room.
I also didn't realize. Welcome, Chantel. You can ask questions. So let's just go back to first of all, testing, right? How do we know that there is an imbalance? That's the question I wanted to bring up. Once you know there's an imbalance, what is the strategy? And this is a quick 5-minute more session that we are going to take, and then we can take a question from Chantel. It's a quick 10-minute session we bring on a daily basis.
Yeah. So oftentimes women will test blood, they'll test saliva. And although this is an okay marker, blood is really just the highway it's a snapshot of what's going on with your hormones. So it's not always showing us, is there estrogen stored in the tissue? I would say on average, women are too dominant in estrogen and they're lacking in progesterone. So I would go off of symptoms and then, okay, so now I know that I'm estrogen dominant. What do I want to do? I want to look at what are the sources and causes of estrogen that I no longer want in my body. So this is where we have to look at like xenoestrogen. So what are you putting on your skin? What are you washing your hair with? What are you washing your clothes with? So all of the chemicals in personal care products and dyes and all of that, these things mimic estrogen and duplicate our levels of estrogen. So we call these xenoestrogens. So step number 1 is start to go green, start to clean out the toxins in all of your beauty care products, cleaning products, and all that kind of stuff. Step 2 would be to start to really open up those detoxification pathways. An easy tip I give for women who are like, I just want to start to clean out that excess estrogen is, and you'll see this on my Instagram, it's called a raw carrot salad. It's from Dr. Ray Peat. I can't take credit for it. But it's a combination of shredded carrots and coconut oil and vinegar, and it helps to pull out and detoxify these excess estrogens that we no longer want in our bodies. And so those are your steps. You want to properly nourish, you want to open the detoxification pathways, and then you want to stop the excess estrogens from coming in. There's so many different angles to talk about, right? Because it's the body, so it works as a symphony. I'm probably not your best 10-minute interview. I'm like, let me tell you. No. You're like, we got 10 minutes.
You are welcome to add more. I'm just trying to keep it very succinct so people can, quickly on the go.
Yeah. And one huge thing, and this is a really good visual for my clients and people who are listening too, is to think of your progesterone as your superwoman hormone. So progesterone is your anti-anxiety hormone. So a lot of women around their cycle, they experience mood issues, anxiety. Some women have panic attacks. So this is a good sign that your progesterone levels are not where they need to be. So think of your progesterone as your superwoman hormone. And there is if you just think about when you're stressed out, Like if you're somebody who's on the go, go, go all the time, if you're somebody who's always anxious, which I know so many women are today, you have a lot going on your schedule, all the things, right? Type A's. If you are producing cortisol, which is a stress hormone, you are not producing progesterone. So cortisol and progesterone start with the same kind of precursor hormone. They start with the same ingredient, the same raw material. And so your body will produce one or the other. It won't go down both pathways. So a great visual for clients is I'll say, like, do you live in the cortisol pathway or are you in the progesterone pathway? Meaning, are you stressed out all the time, right? Or are you able to produce the hormones your body needs to produce? And chances are they're in the cortisol pathway all the time, right? Because if your body wants to decide between survival and reproduction, it's always going to choose survival. It's like the basic primal response of the body. So stress is so umbrellaed. We can umbrella it as the cause for every disease and issue. But for this specific topic, progesterone and estrogen, we really want to manage the stress. We really want to manage the cortisol. Yeah.
But all of us are living in a stressed society. I mean, that is just the way it is. There's no running around. We can't go start living in Himalayas now. So, well, we know the yoga meditation. That's the usual things that we need to do. From a nutrition point of view, is there any recommendation that you want to leave us with before we wrap up today from a stress-free foods? There is any magic pill that I can take, you know?
I love that. I'm going to go with always having a protein and a carbohydrate. When you sit at a meal to eat, always combining a protein and a carbohydrate. So this is really helping us to balance our blood sugar, which creates safety in the body. And to make sure, maybe you're somebody who's been on the low carb train. I know I've been on the low carb train. I know a lot of people have done that. But start to bring in a little bit more carb, right? Some healthy carbs, some fresh fruits, some root vegetables, like start to bring in more carbohydrate in balance with that protein and eat frequently. So, you know, within 60 minutes of waking in the morning, and then maybe every 3 to 4 hours, depending on who you are. That from a nutrition perspective can help you handle stress so much better. And so clients, even just incorporating those two things, eating in balance, right? The protein and carb, and eating frequently, they see a tremendous difference in anxiety and mood and it's blood sugar. Yeah, it's just balancing the blood sugar. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I love the session on the balance part. And there are so many tips that you gave that we could do. We just have to focus and eat a nutrient-rich diet and pay attention to our diet. Of course, in addition to so many other things that you talked about, the cortisol and the progesterone. So I'm not going to repeat everything, but thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to add before I wrap up today? You want to share the handle or anything? Feel free to do that.
Yeah. Try that raw carrot salad I talked about. You'll see it in one of my reels on my feed. And you can find me, at Brittany Lynn Wellness on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most, sometimes Facebook, but generally not. I'm in. And then we have our free community called Awakened Hunger. And that's where you can find my 12-week hormone balance program, all of the things that I offer in terms of coaching and all of that good stuff. And I know, Amita, you and I get to chat about that stuff afterwards as well. I look forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the session and we will catch up soon. Thank you everyone for continuing to support us. We are over 250,000 followers, which I would have never imagined when we started this. So continue to support us, and we are launching our platform soon. So thank you and namaste. Bye-bye.